This is James Granstrom, and you're listening to the Super Soul Model series. This podcast is designed to uplift and inspire you to making positive changes in your life. I have conversations about health, happiness, spirituality, and why adopting a positive and successful mindset will change your life for the better. Hello and welcome to the Super Soul Model series. I'm your host, James Granstrom, and today I have the fabulous, fantastic Jack Revell that I'm talking to. Welcome,
Hello,
Jack.
how are you doing?
Pleasure to have you here, mate. Pleasure to speak with you virtually, as always. And just for the purpose of our audience here today, Jack is a fantastic life coach. He is an adventurer and traveller. He's actually just got back from Sri Lanka himself. And
Indeed.
Jack is just generally a chap who meets opportunity at every level, and he's a super soul model of the week this week because he is a positives vibes type of guy. And Jack's got a lot of practical tips with us to share with us today. But for the purpose of the audience, Jack, let's just connect and tell us how we met each other, and then so we can just give a bit of background into you. And then we can explain a little bit more forward about some practical tips that you can share with us on your journeys.
Absolutely. Well, obviously, for those listening, James and I met obviously through the modelling industry. We've both been in it for a long, long time, probably longer than we'd like to have been. But it's one of those industries that keeps you connected and keeps you coming back.
Yeah.
So yeah, we met years and years ago, but actually connected properly. It was probably about sort of 8 to 9 months ago. I just got back from being in South Africa for a big stint, and we bumped into each other at a casting, and we both were just sort of on the same wavelength, and we started talking about sort of coaching and podcasting, and basically we hit it off again, and we realised that we're back to basically on the same path at the moment, and decided that we should get together and do some work together. And actually at the time I was working on a podcast that I invited James onto, which we did about sort of 5 or 6 months later, which was amazing. And now look at this, we're full circle, and now I'm on James's amazing podcast.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Well, absolute pleasure. And Jack, what I loved about that particular meeting when we hit the same wave, it was a sense of synchronicity, and I talked about that in a couple of podcasts ago. It's just kind of like, it's almost like the universe was allowing us to come together because we both got a message that we want to share. And I just love it that you can just bump into a friend and go, hey, I've got an idea. Hey, I've got an idea. Should we do this? Like, yes, let's do this. And here we are, and it's great. And I know you just came back from Sri Lanka, Jack, and I know you love to travel. But tell us a little bit what's been happening, in your life recently, because it's going to be really practical for what's happening with our current, climate, with everything that's going on in the world at the moment. But I know you've been away and you've come back, and you're like, wow, the world looks very different now from where I was only 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Indeed. So yeah, no, I went away about for 2 months. I started my trip in Dubai. I actually ran a half Ironman, so that was a big challenge that I sort of set myself earlier last year. So followed that through, which is amazing. I've got a really good time, considering that I trained in the very, very cold winters of London over the Christmas period. So yeah, really happy with that. And then I traveled through India down to the Maldives, and then I ended up in Sri Lanka for what would have been a month, but I had to come back slightly earlier because of the whole pandemic going on around the world at the moment. So yeah, but in terms of the reason I went away, I went away on my own, was partly because I wanted to find a little bit of clarity with a few things that were going on in my life, but also I wanted just to take myself away from other things that were basically distracting me from what I really wanted to do in my world. And a lot of that came down to being able to just be okay with being on my own. As I'm sure you know, James, and anyone else that lives in a big city like London, it can be quite consuming, and I almost call it like the black hole. You kind of like love it for everything it gives you incredible opportunities, and there's always something going on, and there's people you meet every day, and it's wonderful. But it can get all consuming sometimes, and it's really hard to remove yourself unless you do something as extreme as just buggering off to another country. So for me, I needed to do that in order just to reset a few things and get myself back onto a little bit of an even keel with my life. And I took away a lot of books. Reading for me is a big part
Yeah.
of like sort of relaxing and meditating. And I read a lot of self-help books. I read a lot of coaching books. I read a lot of books about psychology and behavioral science. And a lot of those have helped me over the last 2 months really structure my life in a way that is now, I feel, much, much better and much more beneficial than it was 5-6 months ago.
Okay, fantastic. Well, I know one of the things that you are doing now, you know, I know you're still modeling, but at the same time, you're moving in the direction now of being a life coach.
Yes.
So practically wise, you spent how long have you been away for? Just because that period of time is actually quite crucial, because like at the moment, a lot of people are stuck indoors, so they're like,
Yes.
I'm removed now. So you actually went away to remove yourself, and a lot of people are being removed from their workplace and going, right, you're at home now.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
for people at home, what sort of practical tips could you say right now that you, in that space of time, that headspace since you were away, that have been helpful for you?
So one of the first things I would say is less is more. Okay. We have the most incredible ability to pack in so many things into our lives. You know, we are constantly being bombarded with advertisements and opportunities and friends asking us to do things and whatever else. And our lives, and we are yes people generally. We like to say yes to, we don't like to miss out on things. FOMO is a big thing.
Yeah,
But
big
actually
thing.
now that we have the opportunity the restrictions, if you like, on basically staying at home, letting this virus do its thing and bugger off and kind of like let this wave crash its way over the ocean. I believe that people have the opportunity now to start focusing a little bit more on themselves, right? And it's not selfish to focus on yourself. I think that it's important to focus on yourself, because if you look at it from a point of view of, if you took a circle, right? You've got a circle in the middle of your palm, that's you, right? If you then extend it out to the sort of bigger part of your palm, that's usually your relationships. And then the biggest part of your hand is your work. If the core isn't working, if the core isn't right, if the core isn't healthy, if it isn't happy, then the rest of the things like the relationships and the work are going to suffer, because you're not present, you're not being the right person yourself. So during this time, yes, it's stressful. Yes, there's things going on that we don't know about. But if you take a step back and go, okay, well, how can I use this time the most beneficial way to me? Whether it be picking up that book you've always wanted to read, whether it be learning a language that you've always wanted to learn, whether it be playing with your kids that you maybe don't see so much during the week because you're at work, or maybe it's spending time calling friends and family that you don't speak to again because of other commitments and other things going on. That to-do list that never ever seems to get shorter, it always seems to get longer. Crack on with it.
God, don't you know? Yeah.
That to-do list. One thing I'm sort of trying to do at the moment is figure out things that are happening in the next couple of months, sort of the next quarter, if you like, in my life that I can start getting a head start on. And one of those things is tax. Like, tax isn't going to stop because of Corona. I'm sorry, but it's not, right? It's probably the only thing that we're going to actually have to consistently do. So for anyone that's self-employed, and also, anyone else that has to do tax returns, it's due in 2 weeks. So why not get a head start on your finances and your tax return, so that when 6th of April comes round, bang it in. Put it in, and it means this year, when you've got all those payments due, and it's going to be a struggle for some people to make payments this year, then you'll know what you owe, and at least it's a bit more financial planning.
I did. I actually, speaking of tax, I just got something from my accountant a couple of days ago, and the payment on account that's usually due on July 31st, if you're self-employed like I am, I suspect you are as well.
Yes.
That's been shifted now to January 25, 2021.
So wow, okay,
you have to make that payment now.
That's good. So
that's a blessing, but it means you can still get your receipts in order.
Exactly.
So,
it doesn't mean they've given you the option to push it back, but it doesn't mean to be complacent or procrastinate it. You can still put your tax return in on the 6th of April, 2020 for the tax year that's just been. And it means then what the figure is that you have to owe in 2021, as well as the extra half that we owe as self-employed people. So yeah, that's just one thing I've been sort of trying to think of ways to get a head start, if you like, on life going forward.
So your first practical tip, let me just clarify again. So your first one is just get organized. Was that
get organized?
Get organized. Right. Really simple.
Write lists. One thing I love saying is actually, everyone has priorities, right? And I understand everyone's priorities are different. But
Yeah.
so many people, when they write a list or they write their day schedule, will just put a priority in, and then they'll sort of do other things around it before doing the stuff that they need to do priority. Because the priority things are usually the most difficult or the hardest or the ones that are the biggest things. I would say instead of, you know, scheduling your priorities, make your priorities part of your, sorry, instead of being your priorities in your schedule your priorities, right? So make sure they're the first things you do, because then you get this sense of achievement. You get this sense of feeling like, oh, okay, I've done that now. You know, picking up that book that I haven't picked up for 6 months isn't going to be so much of a problem if I don't pick it up for another 2 days. But walking my dog every day, I need to do that because otherwise he's going to get unfit and fat. Or, you know, delivering medicine to my sick mum, that's going to be a priority right there. So yeah, make sure that you prioritize the things that are important
I'm
first, and
writing
then
this all
leave
down
everything
here.
else.
Prioritize. Yeah. I like
Yeah,
to learn. Yeah.
prioritize things. Also, yeah, write lists. It's always nice to have a list of things to do, and if you tick them off, it gives your brain that endorphin, that serotonin level of like, yes, I did
Success.
something. I achieved
Small
something today.
successes.
Absolutely. And if something's a big task, right? Like, let's say my mum's asked me today to mow the lawn, right? Not a big task, but some people are like, oh, mow the lawn, right? I could break it up into like 3 sections. I could go, I'm going to do the left half, and then I'm going to do the middle bit, and then I'm going to do the right half, and I'm going to do them in 20 minutes, and I'm going to do them as individual tick bits, so that once I've done one bit, I can tick it off and scribble it out, and I can feel much better about it. And then
Happy days.
look at it, and it's much smaller increments. You know,
Yeah.
the smaller it is, the easier it is to complete. That's what I would say.
Happy days, happy days. So I remember you talking, so like, I just want to be clear because I'm very curious about this, Jack. So the first thing that you mentioned was like the hand and the circle, right? So the
Yeah.
first thing, okay, so the first thing that I'm going back to your trip away, because I always find out that when you take time away, you get really clear. And
Do
sometimes
indeed.
when you're back in the mix again, like back at home or back in your routine, but our routines now have changed a little bit.
Yeah.
So the first thing you mentioned in your hand was the circle,
Yeah.
relationships, and then
Yeah.
then it was
And
work
then
that you said was
work.
bigger.
That's correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
so but the main thing is relationships. So that's what you were saying, and you're saying that your relationships improve when you get organized. Is that what we were
Yes,
moving to?
absolutely. I
Okay.
think that it comes down to it comes down to Maslow's hierarchy of needs a little bit
Yeah.
as well. You know, we all have a basic level of need in our lives and things like that. And obviously, with the world we live in today, it was a lot different to when he created that pyramid. But we have this world of instant gratification at the moment, and you know, I think that if you are happy and content and able to be your full and utter self, right, then you're only going to attract everything else towards you, not push it away. So to give you an example, let's say you're not looking after yourself, right? You're working too hard, or you're spending way too much time with your friends versus your family. Okay, you're not focusing on you, you're focusing on the relationships, right? So then when you decide that you've spent enough time with your friends, for example, you play football down the park with your mates for 5 hours on a Saturday, and then you come home, you're going to be tired. You're going to be a bit like, oh, I've just spent 5 hours with my friends down the park
Yeah.
on a Saturday, and your wife and kids want to start playing, or they want to have a nice meal with you. You're going to be sort of, you know, tired and maybe a bit antsy and a bit like, oh God, I've just done that and now I need to do this. You know, you're not looking at it from the point of view of you. You need to look at what's important to you. Is it important to you to spend 5 hours with your friends down the park, or is it important to you to spend 2 hours with your friends at the park and then 2 hours with your family, and create that sort of balance within your network? You also, if you're not exercising your mind, your body, your soul, if you're not giving yourself time to actually work on you, everything else is going to suffer. Everything else will come crumbling down on top of you, because you won't be able to keep yourself in a healthy mindset. You know, everybody gets stressed, everybody gets, you know, tired, and everyone gets anxious about certain things that are going on in their life. But if you can keep yourself in a good space, I mean, you know, you're a big fan and a big advocate for meditation. You know, I've got lots of other people I know that are big advocates of exercising. I'm a big advocate of things like sleeping. You know, they're all really, really good
Yeah.
things for your body, right? And your body is the only thing you have that you own. Really, it's you, and it's the only thing you can give out to other people as a whole thing. Everything else is materialistic. You, your body and your soul and your mind and everything else that comes with it is the only thing you can truly give to somebody. So if that's not healthy and that's not working, then how can you expect anybody else to accept it in the way that you're trying to give it out?
Oh, I love it. That is great. I mean, I know you say I'm an advocate for meditation. I am. Meditation's basically saved my bacon on more than one occasion. But also, no, I work out literally almost every day. Some days I have a day off, but I'm really working out almost six days a week. And on that seventh day, I'm still probably going for a walk. But in the current
Good.
climate, I'm running around the pool. I'm swimming in the
Yeah.
pool. I'm swimming in a cold pool at the moment, so I've got my Wim Hof thing going on right now. But I've got a jump rope, so I'm not necessarily allowed to go on big runs around where I am at the moment because I'm currently in Spain at my folks' house. But I do take my neighbour's dog for a walk and run it up and down the hill. I don't think that dog's ever run so much in its life since I'm doing it. But yeah, but like what you're saying is that nucleus that you are, your
Yeah,
mind, body, and soul, is basically what you're giving out to the world. And I feel that I always, from my perspective, and from what you're saying, is like the happier that's oscillating, you being the nucleus of it all, the better your relationships improve. And
absolutely.
that takes us into that was the getting organized, that was getting your mind in check, so doing the exercise, maybe doing the meditation. What was the other thing that you mentioned?
And sleeping. I think sleeping is
Sleeping.
one
Yeah,
of the
man,
biggest things that's important.
sleeping is great. What a natural reset. Now for another practical tip, what's the next one that you have since the clarity and the vision since you've been away? What have you
So,
tapped into?
mate, one thing I've really found about being away is actually finding my own company.
Yeah.
Now, this is going to sound a bit sort of left wing, considering that we're all in a position now where we are, ironically, having to stick together during this crisis, but also stay apart because it's obviously social distancing and all that stuff. But
I call it a
one thing
divine dichotomy.
yeah, yeah, it's an oxymoron if
Yeah.
anyone's yeah, oxymoron. It's very I find myself being a very social butterfly. I've always been a social butterfly, and I tend to say yes to everything, but then I never ever find time for myself. Now, this trip I've just done, I genuinely went away on my own, and I found hostels and hotels where I could be on my own, the quiet ones. I mean, call me getting old, but I've traveled around the world a few times, and I've always gone to the party hostels and looked for the parties and da. This time, no, I didn't. I wanted to super chill, read, get up at sunrise, run, do anything and everything just for me. And what I found during that time is that when you just spend time with yourself, you understand what really, really makes you happy, right? And it's the things that you don't really realize. It's the getting up at sunrise and seeing that first light come up in the earth. That makes me super happy. Getting a coffee and like going through my emails on my social media before sort of 7:30 in the morning, before anyone's really up. Again, that makes me really happy. Being able to be like a little bit tired in the afternoon about 2 o'clock and be okay with having a nap because I got up at 6 and I've had that's fine. It makes me happy. It doesn't mean I'm a granddad or an old person or like, unfit or anything. It's just what I enjoy. And also reading books. Books are so overrated and underrated, in this day and age, because we have social media, we have like stuff on our phones, but a good old fashioned open the page book is amazing for just switching off. You can lose hours doing it.
So
And
what's
even
your
if it's
current
something
book that you're reading at the moment? What are you reading at the moment?
so I'm reading at the moment a book by a guy called Stephen Covey. It's called The Seven
Seven
Habits of Highly
Habits of
Effective
Highly
People.
Successful. Yeah. Great
Yeah.
book. Absolute great book.
It's amazing. And it's one of those books I'm really taking my time over because it's more of a workbook than it is just a read.
Yeah.
So, you use some of the techniques and it's great for my coaching. It's great for my clients,
Yeah.
but it's also good for me to kind of keep learning, keep resetting. But in the last few weeks, I've read Mark Manson's The Subtle Art of Giving a Fuck. Subtle Art of Giving Up. And it's a really, really good book about sort of just looking at things from a different perspective. I read a book that's called Ikigai, I think it's how you pronounce it.
Japanese
It's the Japanese word, for purpose. And that was amazing, kind of getting an idea of how other people find their purpose in life and how they find things that really make them tick and do what works for them. That is the biggest thing I took from that is like, if you get up every morning and go for a 5-mile walk and then go and have a green tea sitting on a rock overlooking the sea, and then you go and do some sewing for 3 hours, then go and have lunch with your mate, and that's your life, and that's how it makes you happy, crack on. That should be the way you live the rest of your life. It doesn't mean that you have to go and play cricket with your friends or go for a run with Julie or cook with your other half if you don't enjoy doing it, because it won't make you happy. Do what makes you happy, and then if you're happy, everyone else will attract to you and everyone else will be happy around you. It's simple as that.
Boom, back to the nucleus thing you were talking about in the palm. Love it.
Oh,
I'm going to be looking at that, my hand going, right, okay.
all there, right there.
Okay, great. Okay, mate. So what have we got anything else that we'd like to share on the practical tip side? So because Stephen Covey is very interesting because he talks about like is it the circles or is it the pies?
He talks about, what does he talk about? I think he talks about the pies. He has a couple of different analogies.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I did read that a little while ago, but it's always lovely to go back and there's always something you can pick up and go, yeah, is that part of my life in balance?
exactly.
Because I'm going to go, I like this palm thing, but when that area of your life is in balance, and I probably say right now that the world, I just like it from your perspective because I know you went to Sri Lanka, where you've been. I'm very interested to know what the people were like there, because you know in London and in Spain as well, particularly in Spain at the moment, everyone's like really isolated and it's very very quiet outside. And you're only allowed to go to the shops in a car, etc., etc. But with one person in, one person out. That's the vibe here. So it's very quiet at the moment. But you know, I see it as an opportunity. I see it, you know, in my world, I'm happy, but that's a practice. And do I sometimes fall out of that zone? Slightly, but I have tools that I've created and done over and over again to help me get back in the zone. But when you were spending time in Sri Lanka, what are the people like there? What's the local life like there? And how did you find that influence you as you came back home?
So the world in Sri Lanka was slightly less. Well, one thing, I wasn't watching the news because I was on holiday and I was enjoying myself, so I wasn't watching the news. The UK news is a lot more comprehensive than the news over there, so I wasn't really aware of how serious the situation was until I actually got home. But the people were lovely. They were aware that there was a virus going around, but nobody sort of shut us off as people, as foreigners, because you know we were quite clearly from elsewhere. And not many people they were still kind and still lovely, but they still took precautions. You know, there was a lot of, you know, I took tuk-tuks a lot of places and they were wearing masks and you know, you were encouraged to use hand sanitizer a lot of places and things like that. But generally they were lovely, lovely people. And I think it just draws back to my point that even though the world has been through some pretty awful situations in the last, you know, even year, you know, look at the UK. We were fighting over Brexit, over whether we were going to be in or out and how we're going to be in or out, literally like a month and a half ago. And now the whole world or the whole country has come together over this one thing, that coronavirus, because we are trying to protect the humanity of the world. You know, we don't have a clue where this is going to go. Like, it's very, very close to kind of Armageddon in a way. It's mental how quickly it's spread. But we are, as a human race, being very, very good about being cautious and keeping together and communicating. And I've always said, this is what I love about this world we live in today. If social media and the internet wasn't around, how quickly would this have spread otherwise? Think about it.
I definitely believe that when you plant ideas and seeds in people's mind, things grow, whether that's positive or negative. And I'm a firm believer of you know, influencing good feeling, high emotions such as love, compassion, gratitude, kindness, joy into your life. And because when you feel those feelings, they stick in your body. And that I believe that the you know, the ability that we have with social media, films, and entertainment and media is absolutely brilliant, but it can be used either positively or negatively. Now, we all want to be informed, and I think it's great to be informed, but when things are you know, made, and it depends on the perceiver whether they can see things as optimistic or not. And most media is based on drama. Now, from my perspective as well, is that I believe that there's something bigger going on. I believe that the life is guiding us in a way to connect with each other in new ways and to think maybe differently, and for the, you know, the role models of the world to step up and shine a bit of a beacon of light. Hopefully what we're doing here, just to say that eventually things will pass, like all things must pass. And a way will be made clear, but that's something that we'll find as we go along, you know, as we travel together, you know, throughout the next coming weeks and months. But I personally believe everything's going to work out, and despite the challenges that we're all having right now, individually and as a society and as a human race, I believe that, you know, maybe this is time for healing. This is a time for people to come together in their families, time to stop working incessantly, which is what you mentioned earlier, and get
Yep.
organized. And when you get
Yep.
organized, you're happier. So I'm hoping, although that there will be losses, but there will also be gains as well.
Absolutely. We can only come out of this stronger. I totally and utterly believe that. And I share
Yeah.
that view with you. I think that the positive outlook on this is key. I think it was Oprah posted something on social the other day saying that, you know, we are what we believe is what we become. So, you know, if we believe that the world is going to end, then it will probably, you know, that's what you'll become. You know, that's what you'll become as a human. You'll become negative and you'll become panicky and all the rest of it. But if you believe that everything is going to be okay, you just have to do what you can do as a human and on your own individual basis. Then, and if everybody does that, then we can all get through this together. You know, but it does take people being conscious and responsible on their own, in their own circle, whether it be just themselves or with their family in the household or their circle of friends. But if everybody does that, then those circles will all join and will become one big unit, one big world.
100%, mate. I think it's a time of real sort of courage and owning, you know, stepping up and having some self-ownership on you getting clear about, you know, wanting to remain optimistic. Because if you don't remain optimistic, you're never going to get through. I always liken it to being an athlete. When an athlete's down, you know, and tennis is one of my favorite sports. And when I've seen the, you know, like Federer go down or, you know, Rafa go down or one of the big ones, it's always those top three have got this ability to turn it around. And if they can do it, anybody can do it, because the momentum shifted, they're up against the wall, they're having to fight back. But usually what they do is they just manage to find some present moment awareness and do the next thing that they can as best as they can.
Yeah,
and that's a bit like where we're at there now. Just do the best you can with wherever it is you've got right now and remain optimistic, because an opportunity will come. And when it is, you better jump in. And
there's a really good book I read called Mindset by a lady called Caroline Dweck. And it was, again, another book that I read that was very psychological based and sort of obviously done on case studies and experiments, things like that. But the ultimate book sort of roundup, if you like, was that we have two types of mindset. We have a growth mindset and we have a fixed mindset. Now, as you go through life, you get to the age of about 7 or 8 years old when your growth mindset starts to either slow down or even stop, right? So up to that point, you're always trying to do things. You're trying to walk, you're trying to talk, you're trying to, learn who you are. But sometimes in life, you get people that kind of like pigeonhole you into a certain place. So let's say you're at school and, you did a maths test and you did really badly and your maths teacher's like, oh, you're never going to be good at maths. That might install something in your brain that says, oh, I'm never going to be good at maths. So for the rest of your life, you were never, ever, ever going to try at being any good at maths. And so that causes you to have a fixed mindset about that particular thing. Now more than ever is a great opportunity for us to explore our growth mindset, which is basically that says that everyone can do anything they want to, so long as they apply themselves. And it doesn't mean being the best at something. It means just being better than you were before you started. So progression, not perfection.
How do we do that, Jack? You're the life coach. How do we do that?
First of all, it comes down to understanding what it is you want to achieve. So I'm going to take the analogy of learning a language, because this is something I did personally about 18 months ago, right?
I know what you've done. It's amazing. Yeah. This is brilliant.
So I decided to come off social media because it was doing no wonders for me about 18 months ago. And I decided to swap it with learning a language, which is something I've always wanted to do. So I found the action. The action for me was learning Spanish. Right? I wanted to learn Spanish. So that was the action, right? The analogy I'm coming up with here is basically the one I like to use is aim and fire, right? So if you get the aim is the action. The I means imagination or implementation or being sort of clever with how you do it. So
it's called aim. So action, imagination. Did you say?
Yeah, imagination. So the I comes from understanding where you can find ways in which to do that action. So if it's learning a language, that you can use an app, you could use you could get Spanish lessons, or you could watch Spanish things on YouTube. There's lots of different ways in which you can sort of explore options on completing that action. Okay, and then the aim is the M is motivation. Now, why are you wanting to do this? What
That's
is
the
the
why.
purpose of you wanting to do this action? Okay. And for me, it was, well, I want to learn a language, and I also want to remove myself from social media because I was wasting time and it wasn't doing anything good for my mental health at the time. So my motivation is to give myself a new skill, a new challenge, a new language, all those things. And so once I've got that aim, I've got the action, I've got the imagination or the initiative or the implementation of doing it, and I've got the motivation to do it, then I can just fire away. I can just fire away and I can just do it, right? And the most important part of this whole process is once you've aimed and once you've fired, right, and you've hit the bullseye, essentially, you've got it right this time, celebrate. Celebrate the fact that you've just made yourself an action plan of doing something, imagining how you're going to do it, and then motivating yourself to do it. And celebrate. Give yourself a high five. Pat yourself on the back. Scream yes from the top of your lungs. Because what that does is it motivates you in your brain. It sends a signal to your behavioral side of your brain that says, oh, that action equals a happy response. So therefore, if I do it again, I'm going to get a happy response. And everybody likes being happy. Everyone likes endorphins. Everyone likes the dopamine and serotonin running in their blood. So by doing that on a regular basis, 4 or 5 times, even in a week, you can get that point where you're like, oh, I'm actually looking forward to doing some Spanish lessons because of the feeling it gives me when I've completed that particular task.
Very nice.
So yeah, so that for me is something that I've been doing it now for 548 days, I think it is.
Wow, that's big, man. You've really put in a good habit there.
It's a habit. Yeah, it's exactly that, James. It's a habit I now do every single day, and it's now becoming a habit that I now anchor off other habits. So, for example, I'm trying to again, as I say, I'm trying to read more. I've been reading away, but I'm trying to continue it while I'm here. I'm finding myself, I've been back about a week now, and I found myself not reading every day. So when I do my Spanish, I then automatically open my book and read just a page, just one page. And if I read one page, it usually leads to 2, maybe 3. But even if I just read one page of my book every day, I'm still going to get the book finished quicker than if I don't open it at all. 100%. Right?
So if someone wants to write a book right now, okay,
yeah,
this is a great time if, any aspiring authors there right now.
Absolutely.
This is a great time to write 1 page a day.
Absolutely. Exactly that. Find out, first of all, start with the action. The action is I want to write a book. Be specific. Write a book of how many pages, how many words, what's it about, what's it going to look like when you finished it, how's the front cover going to feel, who are you going to give it to, what's it, all these questions, answer them yourself so you've got like this awesome action in front of you, like, right, this is what I'm going to do. Then get imaginative. Like, okay, am I going to write on my computer? Am I going to write with pen and paper? Am I going to brainstorm off people? Am I just going to write stuff down and see where it fits in? Am I going to follow a storyline? And then motivate yourself. Think, why am I doing this? Right? What's the feeling of going to be when I get this book done? Or who am I writing it for? Why am I writing it? Is it for me? People. And then once you've done that, you've got everything you need to just like fire away and do it. And then you can look at it and go, right, well, if I was going to do this every day and create a habit, just say every day I'm going to write one page, or even just like I'm going to write 100 words, or I'm going to write, one chapter, whatever it is you think is realistically going to be achievable in a day.
Keep it small, keep it simple, I would have thought.
Yeah, exactly. Keep it small, keep it simple.
Because that's what you were saying when you were saying getting organized earlier in your like second practical tip. It was like right list of small successes. So maybe when you put it together with this AIM principle that you're on about, those small successes will lead to long-term joy, wouldn't it? Really.
Absolutely. The way that the way that our brain works is we like instant gratification, especially in this day and age. We're constantly surrounded by it. So if you can give that to yourself through things like little wins, rather than one big goal, right? I'm going to write a book. That's hectic. Jesus, wow, like good for you if you want to write a book, but I couldn't even think about where I'd start. But if you would say to yourself, I'm going to write a book and I'm going to do it by writing just 100 words every day for a month and then see where I'm at, you'll have 3,000 words, and those 3,000 words could be like a quarter of a book.
Yeah,
it's
100%.
It's more than you would have written if you just sat around thinking about it.
I love it. I think it's brilliant. Okay, so the first one was relationships, getting organized. Then it was your AIM principle. Now, what's the next one? Any more?
anymore for anymore. I tell you what, I've got a little list here. Let me just have a quick look down my thing. I tell you what I'll do is I'll give you a few tips as to what you can keep yourself busy with while you're in this isolation period, wherever you are in the world.
That would be amazing, Jack. That would be amazing.
A couple of things that I personally am going to do as well, and you may see some videos on them in the coming days. But a spring clean, right?
100%.
I'm sure hasn't been lived in as much as you have at the moment in the past, God knows how long, because we are being forced to stay home. So why not make your house the best it possibly can be? Do a spring clean, kitchen, bedroom, living room, kids' room, whatever. Just go through stuff.
Clear that clutter, baby. Clear the clutter.
Next thing is put it on eBay, sell it, put it on Facebook, whatever. I know that we're not meant to be leaving the house and all that sort of stuff, but it doesn't mean you can't still kind of try and sell a few things if you need to. You might be able to do some sort of like exchange where you take it to their doorstep, or they come to your doorstep, or whatever it might be. Social distancing obviously included, but yeah, you can sell things online, or even agree to post it once we've gotten restrictions lifted on this sort of stuff. But yeah, selling stuff, again, people like yourself and I, James, we're self-employed. We don't know where our next job's coming from. Might be a good way for other people out there in the same position to sort of make a bit of money in this interim period. Another one I'd give you is learn a new skill. Now, this one really excites me.
Brilliant.
I am a big fan of learning new skills. I'm always looking for something new to do and new to sort of like get my hands dirty with. And one thing I'd like to start learning is gardening. And I'm lucky enough to be at my mum's at the moment, where I've got a garden and I can start doing things like that. But yeah, the weather's getting better, so I'm actually really interested in doing a bit of gardening. So I'm hopefully going to keep that a bit of a habit over the next couple of weeks. But yeah, anything that you might have thought, oh, I want to get stuck into that over the last few months, now is the time just to explore things that you want to do. And as you said yourself, this is a time for growth. This is a time for positivity. You never know what happens when you plant these seeds. Then the storm is going to come over us, which it is at the moment. And once those seeds have been watered and weathered, you never know what's going to grow.
And also, I quite like the idea of like cleaning the clutter out, like you're saying with the spring clean. I mean, for me, I'm constantly cleaning. I call it the ABC, always be cleaning, because I studied like feng shui a while ago, and a lot of it is all based upon keeping your space nice and tidy. And on Netflix, there's this lady Japanese lady, who's all about like cleaning out the clutter, getting rid of it. And it's amazing that when you clean your personal space regularly and often, you invite new energy in. And it's a bit like that. And it's a bit like cleaning your negative thinking out of your mind. You clean it with getting your environment organized. And when your environment's in a good space, is basically what you're saying, boom, you get new ideas and you invite the new in. And when that storm passes, bingo, baby, we're in.
Absolutely. You got a forest that's going to crop up out of nowhere, and we're going to have a whole new jungle to explore.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. So you said spring cleaning, learn a new skill, maybe selling your stuff on eBay. What else have we got?
Absolutely. And then, other things that, I mean, are always good to do, regardless of whether you're in isolation or not, is just things like writing and journaling. I think that it's a good idea to keep yourself occupied, especially if you're going to get a bit of cabin fever. If you live in an apartment, for example, and you can't necessarily get outside at all, cabin fever is going to sit in pretty quickly. So writing and journaling is a good way of kind of just like expressing yourself through a form of you get your thoughts out on paper, and you can always read back them later on down the line, and sort of keep yourself in a good headspace with that sort of thing. But also, as I said, always keep learning. The wonderful thing about the world we live in today is we have the internet. And the internet is a beautiful thing because you can do so much with it, and you can connect as if like we are doing. You're in Spain, I'm in London. We can connect and do these amazing things. But also you can learn stuff. There's websites like Udemy and Coursera. They're free online course websites that you can basically learn anything and everything on there, and it's free. So like if you wanted to suddenly learn, I've got isolation for a month, I want to learn how to code, or I want to learn how to do my accounting for tax returns, for example,
you can
do a free course. It's wonderful. I did a free course about a year ago on marketing, and it was when I was trying to work out, I had a street food company for a while, and I was trying to do a bit of marketing research on that, and I thought, I'm just going to learn about it and see if I can get anything from it. And I took so much away from it.
They're not expensive either, are those Udemy ones? They're very
no, a lot of them are free. You only pay if you want a certificate at the end. But if it's for your own learning, you don't need to show it to anyone.
Happy days, mate. Jack, thank you so much. You've given an abundance of like amazing practical tips. I so appreciate it. So I'm just going to go over the one, the hand. So it's all about getting our relationship. Keep that nucleus happy.
You're good.
Looking after that. So then the second one was get organized. The third one was Jack's AIM principle, which is action, imagination, and motivation. And then he gave us a list of some other action oriented things: is spring clean, maybe sell your stuff on eBay, learn a new skill, get writing and journaling, and maybe learn some new things. Jack, you are amazing.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you, my brother.
Really appreciate it. You've got some absolutely fantastic tips, and sometimes having a little time away gets you very clear-minded.
Absolutely. Use this time while you're in isolation as a mini holiday, and use it as your time, and understand that being at home is not the worst thing in the world. Just use it to your advantage. Don't think of it as a disadvantage.
Love it, Jack. Thank you very much indeed. Jack is Ask Jack Revell. You can find him at Jack Revell on Instagram. Anything else?
Jack W Revell. Yeah, so just my name with a W in between. And I'm on. I think that's pretty much all my socials. I use Instagram mostly, but you can find me just Jack W Revell on Instagram.
Jack's also doing these videos, aren't you? You're doing the new videos that are coming out on Instagram, so be sure to go and have a look at those in some of the inspirations there.
Indeed, and you can watch my cabin fever get more and more intense as the days and weeks go on.
And as always, thank you. Jack is our Super Soul model this week. Thank you very much indeed, much appreciated. And if you've got any questions or anything that you'd like to connect us, you can contact me at James Granstrom on Instagram as well. But Jack, thank you very much indeed once again, my friend. And I'll
Big love, mate.
Big love, mate. Many thanks.
See you soon.